This is part 3 of a 3-part podcast.
Put Paul's brain on your plot. Do you have a hunk of land but don't know where to start? Do you have a world-changing permaculture idea and you need some feedback? Do you feel like the guy in overalls may inexplicably hold the keys to all your wildest permaculture and homesteading dreams? Well, you're probably wrong. But if you want to give it a go anyway, you can hire Paul for a consultation. He will be all yours for a whole entire hour. Schedule your Paulversation today at Permies.com/consult. Permies.com/consult.
You mentioned the delight of meeting a wonderful neighbor. And you're right. Because even with the Mount Spokane thing, as much as it was sour in general, there were some people that I met that were absolutely delightful. And I'm glad that I met them, and I'm glad that I got to visit with them, and I visited with them more. And when the snow came, I drove my tractor over to their house and plowed their drive for nothing, because, you know, it was just so nice to meet nice people and to visit with nice people. And then, of course, there were the other comedies, and I did not plow those roads. Okay. But community living, I think, is a big one. And yeah, it could be just a really nice neighborhood. And I believe that there are 100,000 homesteaders right now who would love to host a half dozen young people who want a garden and learn homesteading, provided that those people will be nice. And but there's quite a few of those people who've dabbled in that space a little bit, and the people that arrived were not. Apparently, they couldn't stick to being nice, and it ended with too much drama. And it's kind of like, okay, can we develop a somewhat more formalized system so that way we can have the upsides and less of the downsides? So it's in progress. However, if we're going to talk about like what makes a difference, that one's a big one, but it has some mysteries to solve. And I think we're working on solving those mysteries here. And I don't think we're at 100% yet, but I think we're doing pretty good. You both have been here. You've got to sample it a little. I hope that your time here was nice enough. And of course, part of it is can we do this experiment when there's like 25 people here year round, whereas like Derek, I think when you and your delightful wife were here, I think we just had like 4 people here or something like that. It was a cold. Yeah. And Ash, the last time you were here with Tracy, then I think we might have had 5 or 6 people here at that time.
That sounds right. And I've been to Paul's place a number of times, and so I can speak to the character over a number of years, and also with more people and with fewer people. You know, Paul, something you said that I think really is important to the community living conversation, and like what you said, Derek, about like maybe it's the old Main Street town, right? Inga mentioned about walkable developments or walkable urbanism. I know she's in Holland. In the comments there, there's the piece about we all want to, meet delightful neighbors, right? We want to meet like-minded people, right? And Paul, at your place, I can attest to the filter that you have in place. You mentioned kindness is required at your place. And if people can't exercise even that, low bar of kindness, then they move along. And I appreciate it's gardening, right? It's gardening for kindness in a way, right? And you have to pull those weeds and you have to put in the effort, right? That's not something that happens by accident, where if you don't put in the effort to make sure that people are filtered for, like, yeah, we're all on board with doing things this certain way, or we're all on board with valuing these same things, gardening, eating the food that comes out of the ground, not using poisons, like all the 200 different things, let's say, surely it's more. That's what helps to make it a delightful experience, because then you're on the same page or on similar pages with the other people in the community, whether it's in the shape of a big wafati with 20 people under one roof that aren't stabbing each other, or in the shape of a Main Street USA, right? Or in the shape of a Dutch walkable bike ped community, right?
Both of you are on staff at Permies.com.
Yes.
And so both of you have seen behind the scenes of how we make this community. And currently, we serve about 1 million people per day. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of feel like when people come, they're like, I love the conversations here. The conversations here are respectful and rich in topic, and there's no ugliness, and there's no fluff and things like that. And I think the two of you know how that came to be. And I like what you said about weeding, and it's like, oh, that is a good way to put it. Yeah. Not everybody, not every plant is welcome in the garden. And it's like, so move along. And it's like it's the same thing on our forums. Mm-hmm. We periodically get somebody who arrives and tells us that we're doing it wrong and that we need to stop doing it the way that we've been doing it for 21 years and start doing it the way that we're told. And usually this suggestion comes with a great deal of hostility, and it's not presented as a suggestion. And so, wow, that is difficult. And then generally that turns out to be a weed. Rarely does that person come around to our way of doing things, which we do it a certain way because it works. And one of the main reasons why I created the forums at all is because when I wanted to go talk to people about Hugel culture or the Wafati idea, and I was just flooded with hostility. There was a site that was in Australia, and I was told that I was stupid because I'm an American, and therefore I have nothing of value to add, and I was blocked. And it's like, okay. And then other places, if you're not using Roundup, you're not really growing food. And, that was kind of the end of the conversation. And only there was a lot of stuff about how stupid I was for even contemplating something without Roundup. So I wanted to create a place where we could have these conversations in a wholesome fashion. And then, of course, there's still people who show up to tell us that this is not wholesome. And I guess wholesome can be relative and subjective. So it's my idea on wholesome. My guess is that because the two of you made it onto staff, that it's your idea of wholesome as well. And so it's like, so those people that say it isn't wholesome, they can start their own thing. And then I guess people will go there and be part of that. All right. So
what's the joke from Futurama? I'm going to go start my own forums with blackjack and hookers. Like, okay, sure, buddy.
So Tracy says, I'd love to hear Paul riff on nice versus kind. Wow. I do think that, okay, so when you sign up for Permies, there's one rule, be nice. And there's as opposed to pages and pages and pages of legalese. It just says be nice. And I think that that's pretty fun and cool. But of course, I also think that saying to somebody be nice is pretty rude. I equate it to, so there's another Wheaton out there. His name is Will Wheaton.
Yep.
And he says his quote, his big quote is, don't be a dick. And I kind of feel like, don't tell me what to do. But of course, when you say don't be a dick, then basically the subtext of the message is don't behave the way you want to behave. Behave the way that I am commanding you to behave. And that's pretty fucking rude, isn't it? And so be nice is effectively saying the same thing. Don't behave the way that you want to behave. Behave the way that I command you to behave. That's be nice. And so what does that mean? Well, it's complicated. Now, be kind is going to be like, I think be kind is going to be different. Be kind is going to be, so in a way they both sound the same, and in many ways they are. But I think if a person's going to be kind, they're going to be patient, and they're going to try to communicate and try to understand. And I think that's kind of the root of kindness. Now, I do think, and we had a Permies.com staff meeting earlier today, and this thing came up. We had a boot here a long time ago. She was just delightful. But she was fresh out of a 3-year-long relationship. We knew that she was fresh out of a 3-year-long relationship because that's pretty much all she could talk about all day. And she was here for many months. And she had some feels about that. And we got to hear all of it, which is part of community living, you know. But what I thought was fascinating, and it was like this morning as we're having the staff meeting, that kind of popped into my head, this variation of it, is she complained about how her guy, her ex-guy, for 3 years pretended to be somebody that he is not, and then entered into a new phase, which is who he really is. And this person that he really is horrible. And so for 3 years he pretended to be nice. He pretended to be kind. But that's not who he really is. And so I kind of feel like some people are authentically kind to the core. No matter what, they will always be kind. And it is lovely and delightful. And other people need to fake it till they make it. And it sounds like that guy was faking it for 3 years, and he just couldn't maintain the facade another minute. And it's kind of like, but I kind of feel like if you're going to be in community, I think it's going to be like being in a relationship or a marriage. And it's going to require some kindness, because really it's kind of like, when do marriages or those kinds of relationships end? And it usually ends in a buffet of unkindness. And it's like, it really doesn't take much, I think, to be kind. And usually when the unkindness starts, in my opinion, it starts with this need, like one person needs the other person to be obedient. And it's like I've just elected out of the sky, out of nowhere, I command you to obey me, and you're not obeying me, and this makes me angry that you're not being obedient. And so this control kind of mentality. Now, of course, I think that, and I posted something 9 years ago. I know it's 9 years ago for reasons, but I posted something 9 years ago, and I said I believe that 90% of human psychology and all of war can be summed up in this single sentence. I need to hear my opinion come out of your pie hole, and I am frustrated that I do not have the might to make it right. And then a guy who is an actual therapist guy, a guy who really knows this stuff about at least the psychology part, replied and said yes, and validated what I had said. So I think so. All right. So Tracy's saying be nice versus be kind, and I think nice is a shorter term version, and kind is going to be a deeper, longer term version. And I do think that is being nice is going to be relative and subjective, and being kind is still going to be relative and subjective, but perhaps less so. Like it's going to be a little bit more universal. But I do think that the whole thing about obey or else, I think that that probably doesn't fit into either package, really. Although I do think that part of it, when a person signs up for Permies and I'm saying be nice, I believe the subtext is that I am saying to the new person signing up, obey or else. And what I'm asking a person to obey is pretty vague. And it's like at the same time, it's like you have the option to not come and be part of the system. And the amount of nefarious that we deal with every day is substantial. You know, what people see are the leftover artifacts of, well, kindness, I think.
This brings, one of the things that brings to mind for me is the Gandhi quote, right? Be the change you wish to see in the world. And related to our topic today, or our title, is if you're kind, it's really going to be hard to be angry at the good guys or the bad guys.
I kind of feel like our topic for today is coming about with conversations that I try to have with people, and they have no idea who I am. I'm some guy, and it is, and what I'm trying to express by the thing that we're doing today is my frustration at how people are so emphatic about these points. And it's like, there might be a sliver of truth in there, but the story is richer, and there are better solutions that they're not aware of, but they cannot hear it because they're kind of locked into this one thing. Mm-hmm. So when I feel frustrated, I'm possibly still being kind. I mean, if I shut the fuck up, which is usually what I end up doing now, I shut the fuck up. I don't want to get into it. Therefore, am I being kind? I'm allowing. They say, native plants, and I'm thinking, I don't want to even ask if they buy herbicides. I don't want to go there. I don't want to even start. And they seem like nice people. And loving a native plant is a good thing. But, of course, the subtext of being a bigoted Nazi is underneath that first layer. And it's like, I don't want to meet that person. I don't want to. I'm tired. I'm old. Look at all the white in my beard. I'm tired of it. And so, but I'm glad that there are some people that I can talk to about this and they get it. And like, grow your own food, rocket mass heater, community, a drying rack. And you guys have seen the drying racks we have here that are on a pulley that you pull up next to the ceiling, mm-hmm. where it's very warm in the wintertime. And we've got lots of those. And so,
you can see the drawstring for it in the picture of the rocket mass heater. The little drawstring that goes up and connects to the drying rack that's above it.
There it is. You're right. So that's one of them. I kind of feel like I have not done a very good job of going over the difference between be kind and be nice. But I would have to say, I think another thing is that I think that if we're going to talk about being in community, like a person choosing to be in community, I think that the phrase of the part of what the cost is going to be is to be kind. You're not pointing at somebody and commanding them to be kind, but instead you're holding it into yourself and like, what does that mean to me? How can I bring kindness to a community? What would that look like for me? And the word kind might never escape your pie hole. And that instead it's entirely for introspection and introspection only.
Tracy offered you pie for your explanation, so it's probably okay.
I take it that like the Permies.com pie,
on the YouTube comments.
Okay. So, all right. I don't know. I think we might be at the end of the slides. There is so much more. Oh, we got another thing to look at here. Slightly unrelated question, but during the summer, is living in a wafati the only good solution for cooling? Or is there another good one for a conventional house? I'm going to say there's a list. And I think we have a few threads at Permies that kind of have a list. But in the purple deck of cards, I think that the thing that look, Ash is waving them around. In the purple deck of cards, we have a card that's called like cooling or cooling your home or something like that. And there's like several suggestions there. But the one that I point at is the big, the six of spades. If you look at the six of spades, and if you have not just a big tree, but a really big tree, and so if you ever get the opportunity, like if it's a hot day outside, a really hot day, and there's a really big tree, I invite you to go and stand under that tree. And it feels like there is a river of cool pouring onto you. And on one hand, it's like, oh, I want to go plant a big ass tree in my yard. And it's like, okay, all right. Next is to contemplate how did all that cool get there and pour onto you. And it's like, there's a lot to learn right there. But yes, the wafati is a good one. Like when we have 100-degree days, someone was saying that it had 100 at outside one of the wafatis, and inside it hadn't even gotten to 70 yet. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I imagine it got to 70 later in the day, but still, that's pretty cool, literally and figuratively. And so the wafati is a big one. I kind of feel like we've got for the PTJ. So Ash, I know you've been here for the PTJ before, I think, right?
Not me for the PTJ, but other PTJ flavored events.
Okay, all right.
Not yet, anyway.
I think you were here for a PDC, but we have what we call the heat protocol. So what we do is we say, when the temperature outside hits 95, then here's a list of like 24 things that we do to help keep everybody cool and comfortable outside. And the one thing that everybody remembers is slushy delivery. So we make slushies, and once an hour we deliver slushies to everybody. And then we go back, we pick up all the glasses, and then on the next hour we deliver a different flavor of slushies to everybody. And it's sweetened with stevia. There's like a little tiny jar that's like this big, and you put in like one squirt of grape flavored stevia, And so now you have a grape slushy, and then later we'll come back and we'll do a lemon slushy, and I don't know, but there's there's a long list of other things that we do to help keep everybody cool even when they're outside. But there's of course the Wafati, it's amazing, but with the rocket mass heater inside the Fisher Price house, that works really well most of the time, keeping the building very cool. I'm a self-pub author, so I have boxes of books throughout the house. That's a different kind of mass. And so when all those books get chilled in the evening, they help to keep the house comfortable throughout the day. But I would have to say that there's a long list of things, but Andreas is here, and he lives in Colombia, and I suspect he knows 10 times more than I know about keeping cool. Keeping cool seems to be what he's working on all day, every day. He has the option to add himself into the conversation. It looks like so far he's choosing not to do it. Oh, there he is.
It's way too hard for my brain to function right now.
He told me a thing the other day that I never knew that I thought was pretty fascinating. And he said that in Colombia, if it's a warm day and you have to go do stuff outside, that you put ice in a towel, and then you'll put it on your head, and then you put your hat on top of that. And so it'll slowly melt. And it's like, but apparently your head has so much blood flowing through it that it'll help to cool you off dramatically, and not only the ice, but also as the ice melts, then you'll get extra cool water running down your face. And I haven't tried it yet, but that does sound very, very nice. I kind of wonder if it's not too brutally hot, like in Colombia, if just a wet washcloth up there under a hat would be good. So.
A neckerchief as well, similar concept.
That's one of the things that we do that's on the list, is that we have bandanas. We have like 80 bandanas for people to use when they're here for events or if they're just in a boot camp. And then you wet it and put it around your neck. But there's a thing that is called a frog tog. That is a weird material. It's definitely some kind of polyester, so not exactly a natural fabric. But when you wet it and put it around your neck, it feels super slimy. And apparently, people have reported it does make you feel like twice as cool as a wet bandana. And I don't know why it feels that way, but it's famous for this sensation. So, okay, how to keep cool. I think another thing is we're growing a lot of fruit trees all around this house, and that's made a big difference. And not only that, but we're still working on building soil on some of the hugelkulturs near the house, and we build soil way faster if you irrigate. So on a hot day, you kind of get a twofer. We will wet the hugelkultur, and then the act of wetting it will make everything much cooler. And then for the next couple of days, it'll be much cooler. Anyway, yes, it's a little bit off topic, but the big thing is that...
Hi, this is Mark. There are a lot of reasons to get angry these days, but I prefer to focus on the positive things that we each can do to make this world a better place. The book Building a Better World in Your Backyard, Instead of Being Angry at Bad Guys, is a great resource for just that. Instead of throwing my arms up in frustration at governments or big corporations, there's a list of ideas that we each can tackle to affect change. Information about this book and other resources can be found at Permies.com.
I feel like there's about 50 topics that are like the ones that we talked about today, like the flying on an airplane thing. In fact, I thought it was pretty cool in the thread where we're talking about this, and the thread's called The Twisted Feels of Being Angry at Good Guys. I mentioned the plane thing, and then somebody like ran the math, and they did the research, and they came back to verify it is true. It's not the evil that they make out. I mean, if you're going to fly in your own private jet 1,000 miles, yeah, that has a pretty substantial impact. But if you're flying commercially, no, not that big of an impact. And it's because, you're sharing the ride with 100 other people or something. Mm-hmm. So, but I think that there's like 50 more things that are like this, that people insist are the things that you do to help the environment, things that you do from home to help the environment. And you know what? This all came from the staff. Somebody on the staff said, "Oh, look, here's a book that sounds like Paul's book." And they're talking about how making your life more luxuriant while being good with the environment. And I'm like, oh, man, I hope their book does 1,000 times better than my book. So I went and I read the description, and I thought, never mind. But it was like veganism, don't fly, and it's like, and so this is such a weird space. I want things to get better, and it's hard to get better when this is the message. Mm-hmm. Also, along the way, somebody looked up the person that's in charge of 350.org. Okay, I'm going to start with Ash. Ash, how much does the person in charge of 350.org, how much do they get paid per year?
That's a great question. I need to look up what 350.org is first to be able to make my guess.
Well, they're very concerned about how much carbon is going up in the atmosphere.
Got it.
So they take money from people who have money, and then they do things to improve stuff.
Got it.
And I guess it's not working well because, the idea was that they were saying, like, we're not going to let it get past 350 parts per million. And I think we're way past that now. But, okay, so you don't know. So, Derek, do you know who 350.org is?
I poked into it a little bit after hearing about it, last week or whatever. So
they're an American nonprofit organization, and the thing that was a bit of a shocker was that the person that manages 350.org gets paid. I think it was something like I can't even remember now, but I think it might have been something like $200,000 a year. And it's like, and so we kind of had a little bit of a conversation of like, if there's a person getting paid $200,000 a year, can you still call it a nonprofit? Right. I mean, that seems a little weird, doesn't it? But it sounded like they had something like, and I'm guessing again, I can't, but it's something like $20 million a year of operating capital. And I kind of was thinking like, man, I don't know what all they've done in like the last year for that $20 million. Maybe lobbying of some kind. I'm not sure. But I know that when I looked on their site once, like, I don't know, many years ago, there was a lot of stuff that they were telling people to do at home that I thought was really stupid. The only thing that I thought was good is they did mention a clothesline. And it was like, but it was like number 12 on their list. Yeah. And of course they're like, oh, get the good light bulbs. And I'm kind of thinking like, and these guys get $20 million a year to do this. So, and I kind of feel like, well, we are not a nonprofit. But I think we're a group of volunteers, and technically I run in the red while I pay the bills for our community. And I got to say the bills have gone up, and the income has gone down. It is tight. However, wow, $20 million a year, that's some real money. And it's like, wow, what can we do? But maybe, and I don't know what the answer to this is, but is it possible that if we've got, because right now we serve about 1 million people per day, and is it possible that we're helping people more than 350.org, but, for free, kind of? I mean, I've gotten 2 free trucks, brand new. That's kind of nice. It doesn't exactly pay for the server costs, but that sure helps with our projects here. But the point is that, that person's getting paid a lot of money, whereas I'm paying a lot of money for our community to exist. And, and it's like, are we doing more for the environment than 350.org? I'm not sure. I haven't really studied what all they do very much, but I kind of feel like we are doing a lot. If we're going to talk about a rocket mass heater instead of light bulbs, I think that's a pretty giant win to begin with. Of the few things that we did talk about today that were the things that were, where I'm throwing it in the twisted fields of being angry at good guys, I'm not sure which one is the biggest win. Maybe the veganism one is the biggest win. The light bulbs, I think, are a wash. The plane thing is a wash. I don't remember what the others. So I think the veganism, it does make a difference. If you're going to eat vegan instead of CAFO beef,
right?
Then it's like, okay, yeah, you're doing a lot better. And it's, I don't know, it's also a stepping stone into growing your own food and permaculture and stuff like that. So
bigger and better things.
Yeah.
Paul, when Tracy and I were there at your place, as a preamble to going there, and then while there and afterwards, we read Thorns, your book on community living and its trials and travails.
Wow, that one's. I think I wrote that quite a while ago, like 9 years ago or something.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
was when it was compiled. Hang on, just a sec. Sorry. The thing that came up for me in reading Thorns and thinking about the topic today is the Wheaton Ecoscale. This is another our meta topic today of when people get angry at the good guys because they think they're getting angry at the bad guys. It's Wheaton Ecoscale. I see it as an application of the Wheaton Ecoscale, right? Where they're angry at someone who they think is behind them on the scale for being assholes and ruining the environment, right? In the same way that they see someone forward on the scale and they think they're crazy and need to be put in jail. And I love how the permaculture playing cards are a way to bridge that gap where, for anyone who hasn't seen it, Wheaton Ecoscale, Google it. Permies, Wheaton Ecoscale. You'll find it. There's a beautiful graphic. It explains everything. So I'm not going to rehash it all. But the conclusion of it is, if you show someone something that's too far afield on the scale, it's too crazy. But if you show them something that's just a couple steps ahead of them, hey, that's cool, right? Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Growing, I already eat lettuce. What if I grow lettuce on my balcony or in my garden, right? I'll eat that lettuce. I'm already eating it anyways, right? Or, I hate tomatoes because I feel like tomatoes are a bad example, but lettuce is the one that I lean on.
Okay. Don't eat lettuce in Hawaii.
Right. There you go. Yeah. That, or other tropical and subtropical places. And I think the permaculture playing cards do a great job helping to dislodge, it's a card, right? And so there's less, going back to what we talked about earlier of the existential threat that comes with talking about something that someone's taken into their identity of whatever position they have, whether it's veganism or I don't fly on planes because it's bad for the environment or whatever. The playing card, I think, does a little kind of end around that existential threat thing of, being a non-threatening way to convey the information, just a tidbit of cool information about a cool thing that might help dislodge and help that person, oh, well, yeah, I'm still a whatever, but also like, hey, card game's pretty cool. And so I just wanted to mention the pro culture playing cards, or any of the other ways that there can be little bite-sized bits of information that run past someone's self-defenses, right? And in a non-threatening way that can be, hey, there's this cool thing. I think this thing's pretty cool. Maybe you'll think this thing is cool too.
Along those lines, I did that presentation at that church like 13 years ago. I suspect both of you have seen that thing that I did. Somewhere in the middle,
to build a better place, right?
I think, the bricks to build 72 bricks to build a better world.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think about halfway through or so, I said, here's my strategy for world domination, is that rather than trying to tell people, like, stop being stupid, do what I tell you, to instead try to share hundreds or thousands of little pieces of candy. And on that day, I was sharing 72. And then, so then we end up having a similar knowledge set. And that would eliminate any kind of conflict. So yeah, I kind of feel like the way to change the world is to share these little tidbits. Unfortunately, unlike back then, now, I have irritated big energy. Let's say big energy, big somebody, bad guys. Yep. And so now, not only are they pooping on my YouTube channel to make it so that people won't see it, and and I've talked about that before, but they're also pooping on our mailing list at Hermes.com, which I don't know how involved you guys have gotten in that, but there's several of us that spend a bunch of time every day, cleaning up the pooping, and we've got better tools and we're getting better at it. And so someday good people might receive our emails again. And so, but it's been very effective at getting us to shut the fuck up. And it's because rocket mass heaters if people knew more about rocket mass heaters, it would really mess up their income model. And, which of course, yeah, I like that idea. And it's and I wrote this in the Better World book about how I got to talking with an old friend in Colorado, and his life was dedicated to protesting fracking. Yep. And I said, okay, how do you heat your home? Natural gas. And I was like, so you're kind of feeding the monster there. And then he's like, oh, you're right. And so, he's been fighting this for years and years and years and years. And he goes to protest twice a week. It was a lot. And he's like, well, I'm going to go and rip that out and I'm going to replace it with electric heat. And I said, in your area, do you know how they generate electricity?
Yep.
With natural gas. And he was like, I'll just be cold. And I tried to tell him about a rocket mass heater, but it was too weird for him. He couldn't hear it. It was just... But I don't understand how it is that people go out and they buy a wood stove these days. Right. And they don't they'll install a brand new wood stove, but they don't even know that a rocket mass heater exists. But apparently there are 100,000 brand new wood stoves being sold each year. And some of the designs only last 5 years. Yeah. And anyway, I know that in the wintertime when I drive to Missoula, the valleys are just full of smoke. Yep. Half the smoke comes from people burning wood, like wood piles. They've got brush piles, and it's part of their wildfire mitigation. And so, they cut it in the summer and they burn it in the winter. And you can, when you drive by, you see the sources of the smoke. So half of them, it's like an open burn of a pile of brush. And it's like, I really wish they wouldn't do that. Like, I want to give them ideas on what to do instead of that. And then I also will see the other half of the time, it's a single chimney, just pouring smoke out and filling the valley. And it's like, well, that is a lot of smoke. But I'll also see other chimneys that have like little wisps of steam coming out of them. So there are some of those modern wood stoves burn pretty clean. So anyway, I'm saying yes, the cards are great at like, here's 52 little ideas. And when they're done reading it, some of this stuff seems a little easier to get your head wrapped around. But most of these people have never seen the cards. And in hindsight, and so Andreas is here, helped me put this show on today, and he's the one who did the artwork on the cards. And we had hopes that the cards Kickstarter would do well, a lot better than it did. And it's kind of like, and when we started it, everything was becoming volatile. And it's like, we don't know where it's going to go. So the price was a little high. And then it turned out it was even higher. When the Kickstarter was done and it was time to print the cards, like the price was about double of what we were expecting to pay. And the price that we thought it would be was about double of what it was years ago. And then the price of shipping doubled too. And in fact, prices to like Europe, it was like quadruple. And so some people paid like $50 in shipping 2 decks of cards to Europe, and I ended up paying $90.
Yep. And
it's like, holy shit. So, damn. Because it used to be the idea of like you could get a dozen decks of cards for pretty cheap, and then you could hand them out to all your friends. And now you seem a little less crazy. And it's like, that works if we could do huge quantities, but damn it. And so the Kickstarter didn't do well, and I don't know, I didn't get very many printed. But you're right. I want to be able to get like some enormous. We had a conversation today, like maybe we should try to get the cards into Costco.
Right. Yeah.
But then the cost. But we could get such a large quantity printed that the cost per deck would be less in theory, and then we sell them at Costco, maybe at a loss, maybe at cost. And that would infect lots of brains because they are beautiful. And it could be if somebody's looking for gifts to give, it's kind of like you get a dozen of these cards, your shopping for the year might be done. So anyway, all right. Are we ready to wrap up today? What else have we got? I do think that there's like probably dozens and dozens and dozens of more of these things that people are super glued to, things that are probably advocated by 350.org that I really disagree with. And I'm just one voice. I'm so glad you guys are here to at least make me seem a little less crazy at feeling this feel that I feel about such lovely, lovely people with such lovely passion about something that's not getting to where they are thinking that they're going. And I feel like the bad guy to tell them stuff like that. I think the one where I feel the most pain is the one about native plants. And because they just love native plants so much. And yeah, the reasons were put in their head by somebody who has a profit to make. Oh, it just stings so much. there's a bunch of stuff like that around other things too, and it just goes on and on. All right. What else? Anything else?
Yes. Go ahead, Derek.
No, I was just take a deep breath, relax.
I've been reading John Michael Greer and some of his recent blog posts. He's an author. The Archdruid is kind of what people know him. That's his light bulb thing. He's talked about a number of different things recently where a movement's purpose is the thing it does, right? And talking about the way that native plants, enthusiasm will take someone's passion and redirect it or hijack it or dissipate it, right? In a way that's, causing more poison to be bought by a big company that sells it, right? And the idea that these mechanisms that hijack someone's passions for whatever topic, right? Where instead of really making a difference, it's just getting them churned up and wound up around this topic instead of doing the thing that's actually going to go and make a difference is part of the, like you said, Paul, part of the tragedy of, someone who's really passionate and has lovely passions and is a lovely person getting their passion misdirected by, a bigger organization who has a profit motive. And the essay is kind of adjacent to this topic where there's a lot of activist energy and a lot of people who really want to change the world and make things better. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for someone's passion in that realm to be hijacked or misdirected by someone with a profit motive, and at the very least, a profit motive to sell a thing, and potentially also a profit motive to maintain the status quo in addition to that. And appreciating what you said earlier and in Thorns and in, 100 other podcasts where, gosh, if you start growing your own food in your own backyard in a way that you know the story of your food, right? That making your own place, the place in your immediate surroundings, more awesome and more rad in all these different ways because you're growing your own food, because it's beautiful, because you're growing your own food, helps to make a genuine difference in someone's immediate surroundings and immediate life in a way that these other, what I'll call passion topics, don't a lot of times.
You brought up Thorns. I kind of feel like maybe we need to do a thing where it's like a Thorns Q&A or something. It's been a long time since I've written Thorns, and I thought by now I would have finished the book. It's been talked about to do a Kickstarter, but it's like it's hard to go and do a new Kickstarter when your last two Kickstarters did so poorly. Mm-hmm. And Thorns is one where it's pretty. I kind of feel like not many people would want to buy that book, whereas the Better World book, I think we had 2,700 backers.
Yep.
I kind of wonder if Thorns would have 40 backers.
Right. Yeah. Hard to bring out the dirty dishes book, right? Knowing so few people will really want to put money in it.
But it does seem like once people have read it, then they're hungry for more, and Thorns then kind of eclipses all the rest of my work, all my podcasts, all of my videos, all of my movies, all of my other books, etc. And it's like Thorns is the everything, and it's like I can see why they think that, but the problem is that I think that the only people that ever read Thorns are the people that either got it as a freebie with something else, or they have a keen interest on this particular topic. Mm-hmm. And but it's like the number. I think it's available for sale right now for $10. I'm just guessing, something like that.
Something like that.
I would say that we probably sell 3 a year. And so it's but it does seem like once people have read it, it's like, there needs to be more about this. I need to finish the book. I need to, and it's kind of like what's there. I wrote because I needed to say it. Mm-hmm. now it is said, and it's like, and I like the idea of finishing it, but I've got so many other projects I also need to finish,
Right.
and it's like, and I could use some help. Come to the boot camp, because it's about the projects. Really, it's about the projects that we're doing here, and as far as Thorns go, it's about the experimentation with community and trying to get solutions that could be replicable to other homesteads. And I think, really, basically, it's like, what does kindness look like if you're going to try to be part? Because I think that there's 100,000 homesteads would be delighted to have a half dozen people come and live for free on their homestead. All they ask is for a little kindness, and yet the evidence is that you're going to get the opposite. You're going to get extreme drama, and so it's kind of like, so how do we get the kindness and not the drama, or at least you'll always have a little bit of drama, but can you turn the volume knob down on it 95%? And I think that there's a lot of homesteaders that are like, I'm in. I'll totally share my homestead for free with people if they want to come and be part of this and do this with me. And it's like not come and be part of this where they think I'm their concierge and I'm supposed to bring them lemonade every day and check to make sure that their pillow under their feet is comfortable. And so, which a lot of the people who come out, that's kind of what they expect. I expect to have a free vacation for 6 months, and you're going to feed me, and my feet are up on a pillow, and you're going to bring me lemonade and stuff. And so, and it's like, okay, that's a fun dream to have and all. Anyway, Derek, you got anything else?
Just, be kind and grow a garden.
Ash?
I can't beat that.
Okay,
I can't beat what Derek said.
If you like this sort of thing, come on out to the forums at permies.com, where we talk about trying to make the world a better place, homesteading, and permaculture all
the time.
In a world on the brink of social collapse, one website stands above the rest to fight back the zombie horde of corporate trolls. Permies.com. Take back control of your destiny and protect your loved ones from the toxic gick coming at you from all directions. Strap on your overalls and start building that bunker of abundance with the good vibes and friendly, helpful insight found at Permies.com.